Hey, Chicago Bears fans. Welcome to another show of Chicago Sports Talk Live today. Today, we're going to be talking about the Chicago Bears and how they acquired defensive coordinator, former head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, and ex-coach of the Baltimore Ravens, Chuck Pagano. Chuck Pagano is brought in to be the defensive coordinator, and maybe this is some news Chicago needed to hear. In my opinion, rather the Bears signed the best of best defensive coordinators, or if they signed the worst of the worst. We just needed some information out there that doesn't remind us of Cody Parker or Parkey. Either way, when you miss 43-yard field goals, you don't deserve your name to be called right. So today, the Chicago Bears, yesterday, have agreed on a contract with, like I said, ex-coach of the Indianapolis Colts / Baltimore Ravens, and they signed him to be the defensive coordinator. Chuck Pagano is a coach. I'm not sure how he is as a coach, so that's why I studied his numbers. And I studied his 5 years in Indianapolis to see where they were in turnovers, where they were ranked overall, and one time in 10 years, in 5 years, if it's 5 years being the coach in Indianapolis, yes, maybe it wasn't their greatest years. Maybe they didn't have all the talent in the world. I don't follow the Colts as close as I follow other teams. But only once did Chuck Pagano's defense come and finish in the top 10. They finished in ninth that year, which I will bring you down the stats and read them for you shortly in a minute. We're not going to be too long, maybe another 10, 15 minutes. Also, I wanted to address some things people are saying about Cody Parkey's kick. People are starting to say that it wasn't his fault, that the ball got tipped, and you can't help it when the ball gets tipped. Well, actually, you can. 43-yard field goal. You don't need to kick a line drive to make a 43-yard field goal, especially when the wind is not doing too much. The wind was actually 5 to 6 miles an hour. Actually, the way the wind was blowing was actually meant to help Parkey, but instead he hit the pole. I know you guys do not want to hear it, but Cody Parker has an issue, and this is one reason why the Bears cannot bring him back. This is one reason why that this was not a fluke. This is one reason why I'm about to give you. This is why he can come back. It was not a one-year fluke. Yes, he was the most accurate kicker in Miami, but since the Bears got him, he's been hitting that pole, and he's been hitting it over and over 4 times in one game. 4 times in one game. The reason being that you cannot bring back Cody Parker is because he floats his kick through the uprights when he does make it through the uprights. Matter of fact, if someone can recall Cody Parkey this year kicking a field goal that was actually elevated high and went straight, I don't remember any one of his field goals or extra points that was right down the middle. I don't remember one of them being high. Every kick that he kicks is like a little floater. When a batter comes up to bat and he hits the ball off the end of the bat and it kind of just goes over the second baseman heads and it drops in a perfect spot. Well, Cody Parker does that when he kicks a field goal. The problem with CP is that he does not care about how he makes it, as long as he makes it. Earlier in the year, Parkey made, I believe, 2 field goals, and both of them were almost missed. I mean, pretty close to hitting those poles. And they asked him about that, and his response was, paraphrasing, is that, I made it. You know, so in his mind, it's not how it goes in as long as it goes in. Look, I played ball my whole life. I work for a living. So everything I do, whether it's playing in sports or whether I work, I try to be better at it every day. I try to realize the mistake I made yesterday, whether it's work or whether it's sports, and improve on it. But Parkey knew that he had this problem early in the year because every kick that he kicked was getting closer and closer to that pole. But it took him 4 times to hit the uprights to practice in Soldier Field. Maybe if this is something that Parkey did this year, maybe he would have made it. Maybe if he practiced in week 1. Understand this, that after the game, Cody Parker went straight to Miami. He got in a car with his wife. As he mentioned in today's show yesterday in New York, he did not talk about the game, he and his wife, and got in the car and left to Miami. While we stay here in the freezing cold, throwing up and getting heartburns from the aggravation of the field goal opportunity that he had. 1 minute, baby. So, we're going to move on from Cody Parker. I just want you to understand that, yes, the ball was tipped, but it was his fault. The reason why it was tipped, because he kind of pooches the kick in. He kind of floats it in. You have to kick the ball high enough so the defenders cannot get their hand on it. And he did not do it properly. He was trying to judge the wind, and you shouldn't have to judge the wind when it's at 5 and 6 miles an hour. I know we played a January game, and people that live in Chicago knows that the weather in January, it's hardly ever 40-some degrees and light winds. Robbie Gould in 06 was nailing a field goal. We had heavy wind. It was really, really cold, and there was 3 seconds left. The Bears down by 3. Robbie Gould splits it down the middle. A 30-some plus yard kick. Then did it again minutes later in overtime to give the Bears the win. Cody Parker cannot come back as a Bear because he can come back next year and he can nail every single field goal attempt and extra point that he has. He could have 5 60-yard field goals. And when the playoff comes and when the game comes down on the line, because it will again next year, it's going to come down the line. Playoff games are close. And if it's not going to come down to a last-second field goal, it's going to matter whether he made the field goals early in the game or missed them. And every time Parkey's going to come up and kick a field goal, that is going to be in the back of his mind. That is going to be in the back of the coach's mind. That is going to be in the back of the fans' mind. The stadium was nervous. He was nervous. The coach was nervous. That's why they didn't try to get him an extra couple yards. They took a shot at the end zone because they wanted to make sure they had enough time. In my opinion, they didn't trust Parkey. That's why you've seen Mitchell Trubisky throwing long shot after long shot in that fourth quarter. There was a lot of faults there. I believe the Bears should have opened up their passing game a little bit more earlier in the game and attacked the Philadelphia Eagles secondary like they did at the end. But we're going to move on from that, and we're going to talk about Chuck Pagano, the new defensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears. Vic Fangio is now the head coach of the Denver Broncos. And I'm going to give you guys some stats in a minute on how many turnovers and what were they ranked overall. But the numbers are decent. They're not spectacular. Again, he doesn't have the talent on that team from 2012 to 2017 that he's going to have with the Bears. They didn't have a Khalil Mack. They didn't have a Kyle Fuller. They didn't have an Eddie Jackson. They didn't have a Hakeem Hicks. They didn't have a Leonard Floyd or a Danny Trevathan or a Roquan Smith, and so on and so on. In my opinion, this defense is so young and so talented and so deep that, in my opinion, long as they don't have anyone to actually screw it up for them calling plays, that this defense will be in the top 10 again next year. But from what I saw some play calls from Chuck Pagano, and he does like to rush for. It's a similar defense to Vic Fangio, and now I understand why the Bears got him. Yes, they did want, I believe it was Ted Bowles, but he went to the Cardinals. But this guy, Chuck Pagano, runs the same defense that Vic Fangio does. As I was watching highlights from 2016, that I seen that he was rushing 4 in the box often. He was rushing 4 with the front 4, not bringing additional pressure. He had 2 linebackers in the back. He had a safety and then the corner set up. So when you are able to rush 4, and in that, every time he did rush 4 and they got pressure on the quarterback, it seemed like the ball was picked. So what I'm trying to say is that if you're eligible, if you're able to rush 4 and bring pressure on the quarterback, that allows everyone else to stay back. That allows the linebackers to be where they need to be. And then you will see more interceptions. And I expect to see more interceptions like we did this year coming up next year because they're going to rush 4 because they can. You might see some more blitzes coming from the linebackers and the corners. Matter of fact, that's one fault I had with Vic Fangio during that game, because in that fourth quarter, when they couldn't get that front 4 pressure coming on him because he was getting rid of the ball in under 3 seconds, they blitzed once on third down. They finally blitzed. And the ball was incomplete. It was almost intercepted. He got nervous, happy feet, Nick Foles, and he threw it away. And I believe maybe if the Bears would have brought some more pressure in that fourth quarter when they was picking up third down after third down, third down after third down. So I like the play calling. Very similar defense he calls to what Vic Fangio did. And as long as the Bears are so talented that if you can put them in the same scheme of defense that they had with Vic Fangio, that they're going to perform. I believe that the Bears are going to get better on defense next year because they have a chance to add another corner, whether it's through free agency, if they can create some cap space, or if they can draft a cornerback. I believe also that the Bears might just trade Jordan Howard because not that he's a bad running back, not that I don't want him, but because he doesn't fit the scheme too much. You've seen Jordan Howard pick up 5 yards, 7 yards against the Philadelphia Eagles, and then they stop running the ball. But he just doesn't fit the play action, the play call so much, and the defense knows that when he's in the game, since he don't got the greatest hands in the world, he doesn't run the greatest routes in the world, they know 80% of the time Jordan Howard's in the game, it's a run. So the Bears need a running back that can run the ball and be a threat to catch the ball. I believe the Bears will find that in the draft. I don't think they're going to use a 3rd round pick. They might use a 4th or a 5th round pick, and maybe they can pick up a 3rd round pick for Tariq Cohen. For Jordan Howard. Hey, can I get those stats real quick? So I'm about to give you guys some stats on Chuck Pagan's defense in 5 years in Indianapolis. Like I said, once in those 5 years, he had a top 10 defense. I don't know how good the talent was on the Indianapolis Colts defense, but I can tell you it's not as good as the Bears. So we're going to check some stats right now on the Bears. Here we go. Apologize for the noise, guys. Bear with me. My name is Kevin. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for joining us. Like I said, when you watch this show, you're going to get stats. You're going to get info that you usually don't hear on talk shows and on ESPN because they have so much coverage that needs to be coverage. Over here, we're focusing on one topic, the Chicago Bears right now. In 2012, Pagan's defense had 15 turnovers and 12 interceptions with a record of 11-5. So he had 15 turnovers. Their defense created for the Indianapolis created 15 turnovers. 12 of them were interceptions. So 15 turnovers came by forced fumble or sacking the quarterback. The other 12 came from interceptions, which gives them a total of 27 turnovers. In 2013, the Indianapolis Colts had 27 turnovers and 15 interceptions. 15 interceptions. So 12 of those 27 turnovers were by fumble, like I said, or sacking the quarterback. Either way, the ball popped out. 15 interceptions. So in his first 2 years, he's got 27 interceptions. And year 3 of Chuck Pagan in the Indianapolis Colts, in 2014, 26 turnovers and 12 interceptions with a record of 11-5. Then we're going to go on again to 2015. They finished 8-8. The Indianapolis Colts did 25 turnovers, 17 interceptions. 2016, an 8-8 record again, 17 turnovers, 8 interceptions, very, very low. Then in the final year, record of 4-12, 20 turnovers, 13 interceptions. In 2012, the first year as Chuck Pagan head coach as the Indianapolis Colts, his defense power rankings overall 22nd in the NFL. In 2013, The Indianapolis Colts defense was ranked 9 overall. That was the first time and the last time they were a top 10 defense under Chuck. In 2014, the Indianapolis Colts defense ranking 19 overall. 2015, 25 overall. 2016, 22 overall. That's not very good, guys. You want to be in the top 10 in defense. Like I said, I don't know the talent that he had on defense in those 5 years, but I know it wasn't as good as the Bears. It just cannot be as good as the Bears was or is. So the point is that I don't know how the hiring's going to turn out. I believe the defense is so special, so unique, so athletic, and so deep that as long as they don't have someone out there that don't know what they're doing. And from what I'm understanding from sources, from people that I know, I have some family in Indianapolis, and I have major Colts fans that are in Indianapolis, and they give me thumbs up, saying that, especially that he can focus on one thing and one thing only, and that's the defense. He doesn't got to worry about the offense. He doesn't got to worry about any of this stuff. That he'll focus more on the defense, and he'll be good enough to get the job done. And I sure hope that he is, because we need to get back in the playoffs. We need to show the world what we're capable of doing. I really do believe that the Bears have Super Bowl pretension this year coming up. Also, a couple of players that you guys need to pay attention to. One of them, next year, you're going to see some Chicago Bears fans wearing his number. You're going to see some 83 jerseys out there. Wims, I checked his stats in college. He had 50 catches, 7 of them was for touchdowns, and also their number 1 wide receiver for Georgia went 11 overall that year, in Calvin Wrigley. So Wims had 7 touchdown catches with Calvin Wrigley, their number 1 receiver that went in the top 20. So this is a guy that can go up and get him. And guys, I watched some highlights of him. He made some catches that I was like, wow. I don't see how he slipped to the 7th round. I don't know if he had some injuries or if there was anything in the past of him. But this is a player that the Bears caught. He actually had a good game in Minnesota. His number was called upon. They had some injuries in that game. And Wims came up and made some catches back-to-back, in matter of fact. Picked up some key first downs. He is a quick receiver. He's not scared to leave his feet to catch the ball. He can go up and get it. He can go sideways and get it. He can go from underneath you, over you, and he can also blow by you. Wims got some moves. He's got a nice spin move on catching the ball. One thing I realized about number 83, Wims, is that he doesn't have to take his eye off the ball to realize where the defender's on. There was a catch that he made in college that as soon as he caught it, he knew where the player was from behind him and immediately caught the ball in one motion, spinned around. The defender went directly behind him, and he continued to pick up another 10 yards. So they have another wide receiver. You have a number 1 in Allen Robinson. Anthony Miller's going to step up, and he can only get any better. You have Taylor Gabriel as their 3. Then you have Burton that you can use as the tight end that plays kind of like wide receiver, and Wims. The Bears don't have to get another wide receiver. If there's a big name out there, I would love for them to get it. But Wims, if healthy, is going to be a hell of a football player for the Chicago Bears. So today's show is that Chuck Pagan is our new defensive coordinator. The Chicago Bears are back. Like I said, 83 Wims is going to be a player next year. Mitchell Trubisky is the type of quarterback that has pinpoint accuracy, and this is the type of player that can go up and get it. Expect number 83 next year to be near the end zone. He's going to be getting the ball because Trubisky can throw it up where only his receiver can get it, and believe me, Wims will be able to get it. There's one thing that you can knock on him, and that's his hands. Wims can go up and get it, but he can do a lot more than just be a red zone threat. Wims is the type of player that will blow by you. Wims is the type of player that can run a route and freak you out. He is going to be an awesome receiver. I really love that pick that the Bears did with the seven overall pick. I'm sorry, with the seventh round pick last year. He went 224. Matter in fact, he was rated 100 of the top. He was in the 100 top prospects coming out of college. He was in the top 100 coming out of college, and he fell to 224. The Bears got themselves a player in Wims, and he's going to be used in this offense next year. Trey Burton is going to have another year under Matt Nagy. Anthony Miller is going to have another year under Matt Nagy. Al Robinson is another year removed from the surgery. Everyone's going to get better. This team is young. They can only get better. Anthony Miller, in my opinion, has the potential to be a number one receiver. Now, if the Bears can create the cap space, maybe by trading Jordan Howard and getting a third or fourth round pick, whatever is best for them to receive, because he just doesn't fit this offense. I love Jordan Howard, but he's the type of player that needs to be fed for him to get his running game on. He's not the type of player within the first 6 carries he's going to have 45 yards. He needs to get going to get going. And the Bears are not going to do that with this offense. Expect this offense this year coming up to pass more, to be in more play action, to take more shots down the field. Mitchell Trubisky has another year underneath his belt. In my opinion, this was his first year. Because, I mean, literally it was a waste under John Fox. They put him in, I think it was after the 4th game, and you can very easily see how they was holding him back and not playing the right calls for him. So he's got a year under his belt now, a full year. He came back in the playoffs with under a minute, 56 seconds left, and drove the ball to put the Bears in field goal range for the game-winning kick. I believe that if the Bears would have let go of Trubisky and not hold them back in that game would have never even came to that field goal. But in order to win in the NFL, in order to go on the road and beat a team like the Rams, like New Orleans, you have to have a field goal kicker that can make a kick. 43 yards, we're not in the 40s. It's in 30s. It's not hard to make a 43-yard kick. It is almost automatic nowadays. And his luck, it hit the pole, and it was going to go in, but it hit the bottom pole and defended back towards the field. The Chicago Bears have to draft a field goal kicker. I believe they should draft one. Whether they bring back Cody Parkey or release Cody Parkey, he's owed $9 million each year. All of his money is guaranteed, I believe. So whether the Bears do bring back Parkey or don't bring back Parkey, I believe they should draft a field goal kicker, a kicker that has legs, a kicker that a 50-yard field goal is not hard enough that he can't get his leg under it. I mean, they said in that game that he said that he felt comfortable from 53 against Philadelphia. You know, guys, 53 yards nowadays is not, oh my God. And he was off from 43, so even if it was 53, it wasn't going to be that close. I mean, Cody Parkey, I wish you was able to see this because I do have something to tell you. You went on the Today Show and you talked about this field goal kick. And then you had the nerves to let everyone know that you and your wife got in the car and went to Miami after the game. And you did not talk about it. While we got stuck here in the cold, while we got stuck here eating aggravation and waking up with nightmares because of what you did, you cost us a chance at the Super Bowl. Anybody knows that watches the NFL, next year is not guaranteed to anyone. I don't care if you were undefeated the year before and you added 5 stars. Injuries happen in the NFL, and the Bears were lucky enough not to be injured that much. Yeah, maybe the last week or two you can say different, because I believe that if Eddie Jackson was in that game against Philadelphia, those little lobs that Nick Foles were throwing, those little floaters he was throwing to Alshon Jeffrey, he would have never thrown them because Jackson would have picked them. Also, the play in the end zone that the Philadelphia Eagles got on 4th and goal, they picked up a touchdown. Number 27, you're allowed, 27, you are allowed to make contact with the wide receiver before 5 yards. Before your 5 yards are up, you can push, you can shove, you just cannot hold. And when you're at a goal line play and everyone in the building knew that they was going to pass it because they tried running it twice before and they just went backwards, why did you not throw the receiver off his path? You never got a hand on him. You never got close enough to Goldman. And he blew right by you and cut a sharp route. You're supposed to be in front of the defender when it's a goal line play like that, or if not, at the very least, side to side with him. But you were nowhere near him. You did not get a hand on him. You did not do the little contact that you're allowed to do before 5 yards. The Philadelphia Eagles had the ball at the 4. So the only place that number 27 of the Bears cannot contact the goalman that got the game-winning touchdown is in the end zone. But before that end zone, when he ran that route and ran up to our defender did not shove back. Our defender did not, try to bounce him off his route. But instead, you sat there and got beat. And again, if Eddie Jackson was in the game, that would have not happened, because Eddie Jackson plays physical, and he would have came up on the receiver, and he would have played the receiver. I watched it 4 times. He did not do what you're taught to do. Make as much contact, especially when it's 4th and goal at the 4-yard line before the 5 yards are up. Make as much contact as you could without causing a holding penalty. Because you're allowed to shove and you're allowed to push, but you can't hold them. And you did neither. Even when you realized that you got beat, you didn't do anything about it. The Bears lost that game because of also our punter O'Donnell. Yes, the Bears did go 3 and out, but also you kicked a 36-yard punt. That instead of the Eagles, if you would have kicked a 56-yard punt, they would have got the ball at the 21 instead of their own 41. If you do a decent kick, 50 yards, they get the ball at the 30, at the 29-yard line. Special teams killed the Bears, and that was because they was ranked 30th. Their Achilles heel, the only thing that can stop the Bears from winning the Super Bowl this year was Cody Parkey and the special teams. And it showed you in that last 2 minutes of the game, in that last 1 minute, how special teams could either win you the game or blow it. Because O'Donnell did the 36-yard punt with under 6 minutes left that gave the Eagles great position to get in touchdown range, and they did get the game-winning touchdown. Then you've seen how Tariq Cohen got the ball and actually ran it for 30 yards on a punt return and gave the Bears good field position at their 40. And then you've seen that after the Bears got in field goal position, how Cody Parkey missed the field goal. So I said all that to say this, that if the Bears can improve on that special teams, if they can get that special teams to be a top 10 special teams, they can go out and add a corner, and with the receivers they have now, and Wims is coming. He is going to be a big part of this offense next year. Number 83, remember him. You're going to see his jersey on the street next year. A lot of players are going to wear him. A lot of fans will know who Wims is by next year, this time. If the Bears can just get better at one more corner spot and draft a field goal kicker, whether you bring Parkey back or you don't, draft one. Or bring someone in, because it can't get that much worse. We're closing out here in a minute. Just want to thank you guys for watching the show. My name is Kevin Zico, and we'll be on in a few days whenever the next Bear news breaks down. Hopefully the next news will be that Cody Parker got released, because they cannot bring him back. He is just going to be a distraction. Thank you guys for watching Chicago Sports Talk Live. We will be back next year, and the Bears will be in the playoffs once again. But remember, guys, watch the show. Leave us comments. Let us know your opinion. Let us know if you know some information that can help us to give to the fans of football. We're also not just a sports talk that talks just Bears. We talk all Chicago. Bears, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. even though I'm a diehard Cubs fan. So from Chicago, good night. God bless you all. And remember, go Bears, go.